What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the ABQJournal, and I am in Clune Arena at the U.S. Air Force Academy. This is in the Cadet Fieldhouse where there is, some loud music going on, and also there is, let me turn this down. So here in the Cadet Fieldhouse, this is Clune Arena where they play the basketball games. There's a name for the hockey rink kind of behind us. I'm trying to get those lights from behind me kind of out of the way, but not a whole lot I can do there. The ice hockey rink just kind of over my shoulder behind that wall you see behind me. And to my right, through a little hallway where the Lobos go to their locker room, there is an indoor track facility that just sort of a really cool kind of surreal feeling when you're walking around. To walk from a walk from a basketball court where you just cover a college basketball game to see an indoor track facility and see an ice hockey, an ice rink behind us. It's just a really cool feel here at the Academy. So today's basketball game, UNM Lobos at Air Force. UNM is in first place in the Mountain West standings at 11-1. Air Force is in last place at 0-11. So, and the spread, 0-12 rather. And the spread right now is UNM favored by 16.5 was the last I saw it. It's an interesting line. I mean, it should be that. It's on the road. The Lobos have struggled here. Frankly, history is not on their side. They've had some blowouts here too, but there's no other team in the Mountain West that's lost to Air Force over the past decade like UNM has, which is sort of weird. I know UNM hasn't had their best decade of basketball by any stretch, but try and block out one light at least for you here, if I could do that. But it is interesting that the Lobos have struggled as much as they have. The Falcons are on a 17-game home losing streak right now. The last time they won was against the Lobos 2 seasons ago. They did not win a home game last year here in Clune Arena. They have not won one here this year, obviously. Last time they won on this home court was against a Lobo team that had an injured Jalen House, who decided not to play that game right before the game, and it hurt the Lobos. They also lost that same week to a bad Wyoming team, again with Jalen hurt. So the Lobos have had a couple rough ones here, and as far as omens go, there is a starter for the Lobos who was out today. Mustafa Amzil will not play today. Let's see here. Yes, these facts scare me. I get it, man. I get it. Mustafa Amzil will not play today. The plantar fasciitis in his foot that has been bothering him for weeks is getting a day off. I do believe that this is sort of falls under the if this was San Diego State, he'd play kind of thing, which is risky. I kind of think that's what Jalen House did a couple years ago. He did go through a morning shoot around, and then they decided he couldn't go, and then they lose. That said, Jovan Milicevic will get the start. The freshman's been playing fantastic. I don't think they'll lose much, as crazy as it sounds. I don't think they'll lose so much with Jovan getting the starting role. It is that Jovan then isn't also coming off the bench and kind of providing that spark at that position. So, the trickle-down effect is the steadiness that they've had from Jovan off the bench, especially when Mustafa's been hurt. They don't have that today. They don't really have that guy off the bench right now that's going to be able to do what Jovan's been doing. And it should affect the Lobos, and not in a good way. That said, they've been playing great. Like, they should be 16.5-point favorites. Some could argue they should be more favored by more than that. But it is what it is. And as we are here now, as everyone else warmed up, we got move this here so you guys can see. These are the world-famous UNM Lobo basketball managers shooting their half-court shots, while both teams right now are in the locker room. That place is so tiny. It is, man. It seats a few thousand. Their announced home average is like 3,300. I think it's 5,000 maybe is what it does if it's to the rim. Yeah, it's a great arena, and the Lobos have often packed it with cherry. There's been as much red in here for some of the games that I've been to as blue or other colors. And I can remember in 2013 when the Lobos, it was Steve Alford's last regular season game. The Lobos got a 3 seed that year in the tournament. It was a sold-out arena. Dave Pilipovich, now Lobo assistant, was coaching that team. Air Force won that game, and it was as cool an environment as I can remember being in. That was a packed Clune Arena, which was, you pack a small gym, there's a certain feel to it, a certain vibe, and that it had that vibe, but kind of a high school playoff vibe kind of thing. And it was pretty cool. It wasn't the Pit, it wasn't Viejas Arena or the Spectrum. It was its own thing. It was Clune Arena, and it gets that way here, and it's pretty cool. So this game always scares me. A lot of Lobo fans realize that it is a tough game. It's been traditionally tough. Again, the Lobos have been playing so well that I don't think it's going to be a problem today. But who knows, man? I've thought that before too. Got the Pit Press chiming in, and gotta love the cherry and red in the seats already. Yeah, man. There are so far certainly there's far more cherry than there is blue right now. I do think that there's an element of that the local fans probably aren't getting here as early. They know they don't really have to get here early. I think Lobo fans in general, and maybe when you're out of town, you do this anyway, but Lobo fans in general are used to getting to a game maybe 30, 40 an hour maybe before the game. I don't think that's a necessity for local Air Force fans very often. So I imagine a lot more of the local crowd will be finding their way in here pretty soon. Christy, I mean, fine. They were lighthearted. They were joking around. They were going through pregame. Plenty of energy. Obviously, Mustafa Amzil not playing affects that a little bit. I certainly wouldn't accuse Mustafa of being the most energetic player on the team anyway. So him being out doesn't necessarily affect the energy per se. It hurts him. Jovan has not proven he can be a back-to-the-basket guy down low, and they might need that a little bit. Mustafa can do that. So I think there's some of that we'll see how it goes kind of thing, right? But as far as energy goes, when they're back out on the court now, as you guys can see, they're good, man. They're having fun. They're in a good spot right now. There's Stoff right there walking by. As you can see, Stoff's injury is one of those kind of really interesting ones where he's not limping. You wouldn't playing doctor from afar, like sitting by a court. You would wonder why he couldn't play. There's not even a limp in his walk. But the foot has been, I've been told, like by several people, like extremely painful for Stoff. And it's unfortunate, man. I hope it does get better because I would love to see down the stretch a Lobo team be able to be at its best and see what it can do. Worrisome. Jimmy H, I know. Pit Press, you have to think Jovan is more than capable of handling the role. He played 20 minutes against CSU. Yeah, Jovan's been playing his way into being trusted as a guy who can step into this spot. I'm not as worried about Jovan taking over the starting role as I am about the Lobos not having a forward off the bench. Atiki's been backing up Nelly and been struggling a little bit, hasn't really had great minutes when he has been in lately. So they don't have a backup five that's been consistent over the past month. They don't have a backup forward other than Jovan, who's been playing well, that they've used much in the past month. So the Lobos are thin in the front court today. I don't know how much they'll need that per se. Like if Nelly, who's right here in front of me, if he stays out of foul trouble, I think they'll still be okay. Air Force does have a 7-footer who's been playing pretty well. He's their second leading scorer. Before I butcher his name, let me pull it up and tell you his name. Let's see where he's at here. All right, so 7-footer, Georgetown, Indiana, 7-foot sophomore center, Wesley Selachowski. Been playing really good. For Air Force, and he's a big man that can give them some problems today. So we shall see. And it'll be worrisome when the Lobos have to go to the bench at the 4. Now, Phil can certainly slide over to the 4. He's 6'9". He can play some 4. CJ can play some 3 at 6'4", and that doesn't really affect things too much. It's really just the depth at this point that I think Mustafa's injury should be worrisome for people today. Maybe Sacco gets some minutes in. Maybe. I don't know who else they're going to turn to if they need to go to another forward here. And he's the guy. Now, the problem is he hasn't played a lot of big minutes. Now, you can say that's maybe the fault of the coaches for not playing him more, but it's also hard to fault this coaching staff right now for anything they've done over the past month or so where they've had the team ready so consistently. They're 5-0 against the top 5 teams. Top half of the standings right now, the Lobos are 5-0. They beat Colorado State twice. They beat San Diego State, Utah State, and who am I forgetting? San Diego State, Boise State. And in all 5 of those games, the Lobos are 5-0 against Mountain West teams with the winning record, and they've had a lead of at least 19 points in all 5 of those games. It's the bottom half of the standings. It's games like this that they've struggled. They've had a loss to San Jose State. They've had a 1-possession win, buzzer beater, in overtime against a Nevada team with a losing record. They had a 1-possession win against UNLV, who has a 5-7 record. They were down 14 at halftime at Wyoming, who has a losing record. Fresno State's the only team with a losing record that the Lobos have handled comfortably all season. All right, Geoff, do you think the Lobos lose more offensively or defensively with Mustafa out? I would say offensively probably. I think he's really reined in the shoot until he hits one kind of three-point thing he was doing for a couple games that drove fans nuts. He's still a good shooter. But what he's been doing that's really been helping the Lobos and probably not getting a whole lot of credit for. I certainly haven't been giving any attention from my coverage consistently for this. They have one back to the basket guy, one guy who can play in the low post, and it's Nelly Jr. Joseph. Mustafa Mzil, who is not comfortable doing that, has started to do that pretty successfully. And another offensive threat near the rim is something that he's been really good at for really this whole season. But I'd say for in particular the last 6 weeks or so. And they need that sometimes. You know, I haven't seen Jovan do that. I don't know who else can kind of get a bucket down low if you're feeding it inside, other than those two, Mustafa and Nelly. So with one of those guys out today, we'll see what that means. So I would say it does help them. Hurt them offensively a little more than defensively. I don't think Mustafa is the best defender, but I think he's a good rebounder. And this Lobo defense has been so good defensively all around that I think they can kind of weather the storm a little more on that front than they can on the offensive side. It's like the Washington Generals. John is saying, GG, surprised they let you on the Air Force Base with your rap sheet. Haha. Speaking of poor behavior, Donovan Dent needs to ease up on the winding to the rest. I will let him know. He's right there in front of me. I will let him know. I can tell you right now, Patino lets him know that a lot. He is he's a talker on the court. Not as much off the court, but he is on the court, especially with referees. So I'm having a hell of a season, though. I'll tell you what's been interesting is keep talking about Donovan being the player of the year favorite and just runaway. It's not a runaway. There are a couple other teams that have players that are playing pretty darn good. And if they make a run in the second half, they'll still be in it. You know, Nick Clifford, Tyson Dagenhart, maybe even a Miles Bird at San Diego State. But I'll tell you who might be the second place guy right now for player of the year. If you look at just league games, especially, Nelly Jr. Joseph. The Lobos might have two of the 4 players, I would say. 2 of the 5, certainly, maybe in the conversation for player of the year right now. Thoughts on who might have a breakout game? Lobo Menace on YouTube. So it's hard to say breakout for a guy like you just walk by, so you come to mind as CJ, because CJ's last 2 games have been tremendous. He had 19 on Wednesday against Colorado State, perfect 7 for 7, shooting 3 for 3, three-pointers, also a perfect 2 for 2 at the free throw line. So it's hard to say CJ would have a breakout game. This game does lend itself, though, to a guy who can shoot from the outside. There's some zone breaking potential for somebody. I know in the past, a guy like an Anthony Mathis has had some good games here, even before Craig Neal was playing in. Actually, Craig Neal never played in big minutes. Paul Weir did. But when he was with Craig Neal, Anthony Mathis seemed to have big games here, even though he didn't get big minutes. So a shooter's always going to have potential to have a big game here because of the way the zone that Air Force plays works out. Put me on the spot. Let me say I think I'll go with, Philip Borovichinin has been really good defensively. He's been shutting down the 3 for the other team really well. He did it against Nick Clifford on Wednesday. It's Colorado State. He did it against Miles Byrd earlier this year against San Diego State. But let's go with Philip Borovichinin for having a really good offensive game today. If you're going to press me to pick a player, let's go with Philip today. Now, he's a starter. I don't know how much a starter is going to have a breakout game, but Philip is the guy I think will have a good game. Probably just keep going. With Mustafa hurt, Jovan starting, do you think some minutes could open up for Sacco? I do, but I also just think what the Lobos will do is shorten the bench. As opposed to finding somebody else, they'll just sort of try and eat the minutes. Remember, Air Force plays really slow. Not as slow as Nevada does this year. Actually, not as slow as Wyoming either, as of late. They play faster lately than they're used to. But remember, in general, they're a slow team. It isn't like the Lobos are going to be affected by the elevation. It isn't like they're going to be run off the court by a team that runs a lot. So they can survive, I guess stamina and energy-wise and all that a little bit, somebody being out. But, I do think, there's certainly a chance that Sacco's going to get some more minutes. To me, this is must-win of the season, and I'm not even being sarcastic. I totally agree with you. Patino kind of hinted at this a week ago, right, when a lot of hype building up to that Utah State game. In first place versus first place. The winner was going to be alone in first place in the Mountain West. It was 9-1 versus 9-1, sold out spectrum. Everybody was hyping up that game. And Patino said, yeah, but if we lose that game, our season's not over. If they lose this game, they're not getting in that large berth. They're back to needing to win the Mountain West tournament if they lose to Air Force. So, yeah, this is far more must-win than either of the past two games have been. What does your daughter's coin say today? That reminds me, I'm posting my picks right now. So let me do that. Let me, as I'm speaking to you guys, double-check the final lines here and make sure I still have the same lines. Lobos 15.5. UNLV favored by 2.5 at Wyoming. Colorado State by 2.5 at home against San Diego State. I just posted the picks, the Grammer's guesses, and my daughter's coin flip picks. And good news, bad news. Bad news is I picked the Lobos. I think they cover 15.5, but I think they're just in such a good groove right now that I think they cover. I think Air Force is also just having a really bad year. They're struggling. So I wrote today about how hard it is for the Lobos to ever kind of take this game for granted, and they, Air Force can sneak up on them a lot, and then I go ahead and take them to cover 15.5 on the road. So there you go. What else do we got here? Yeah, had a little bit of travel woes. For the first time ever, I tried to get to Clune Arena through the Southgate entrance, the main entrance at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And I've used the North Gate entrance every other time. Swap this over here just to show you guys real quick. Got team captain showing up here, center court. So, yeah, my daughter's coin picks Air Force getting 15.5 points to keep it within 15 points. My guess is that of jinx teams all year is the Lobos to win by 15 or more. Air Force is tall this year. That is correct. Air Force has more size than in general. They everyone likes thinking of the Air Force Falcons as a bunch of fighter pilots, right? There's no 7-foot fighter pilot, and Air Force has a 7-foot center. So, all right, these Lobos are about to head back to the locker room. I'm about to wind up here, wrap things up. Maybe more Sacco. That is correct. I believe that is the case. Thankful we don't deal with Ritis this year. Dagger 3 against the Pit. In the Pit last year against the Lobos. That's right. He's at Cal. Not having a stellar year, but he's a starter at Cal. He's doing fine. But yeah, no Ritis is a good thing for the Lobos because he killed him last year. How about Agbayosi, Jeff? He's out for the year with the shoulder injury. He will not play. Does Air Force do anything cool for introductions? Same as most teams where they just have a video that plays. Nothing specific that rises to anything unique enough to really remember. I do like that after the game, win or lose, whatever happens, both teams stay on the court and listen to the cadet band, which is sitting down there at the end of the court. And the cadet band will play what they call the third verse. And got the world famous Lobo managers now putting the balls back now that warm-ups are done. And both teams will line up on the court, win or lose, blowout or not. tempers flaring or whatever, out of respect, both teams stand on the court and listen to the third verse, which is, I believe, the alma mater song for Air Force. They call it the third verse. That is not the. I don't think that is the official song or the official title, rather. True Washington. I was right, Frank. True Washington. I'm guessing that's who might have a breakout game. If it is, yeah, he's a guy. I think that 2 spot, like a 2 and 3 spot in this against Air Force has always seemed to be pretty good against Air Force. Like he's playing that shooting guard / small forward role. Let's go Lobos from Royce on YouTube. John Scott, who is drawing the assignment on Taylor. Is that true? True, I would be shocked if he doesn't have the Ethan Taylor assignment. For those that don't know, Ethan Taylor, as bad as the Air Force has been this year, Ethan Taylor is having a potential all-conference year, not first team, but third team. You know, if there's 15 spots for all-conference, Ethan Taylor for Air Force, last place winless Air Force, he is that good. He is also, assuming he starts today, which I think he is, he will be starting his 113th game for Air Force, which is a program record. He's tied right now at 112. Ethan Taylor is also one of the best three-point shooters in the country in terms of made three-pointers. His percentage isn't quite as high ranking as just the number of raw makes. But Ethan Taylor's, he's legit. He is legit. He would be playing for any team in this league, not just the Service Academy. Token full court press, maybe. I don't think there's any desire for either team to speed the other one up, which is sort of sometimes what you're trying to do. I think Air Force is fine and comfortable playing in the half court, and frankly, the way UNM's defense has been playing so well, I think they're fine with just playing half court defense. So I don't think you'll see much press today, but I could be wrong. Sade is saying Webb can play the 4. He hasn't practiced there all year, but I guess we could see it. I know a lot of people want to see Webb get minutes, and so do I. Frankly, it would be great. He's a great player, but they have practiced him all year at the 2 and 3. He's just not a position he played before. Let's get some more run today for Jovan the Great. They better get some more run for him. He's starting. All right, Jason, what do you got here? Jason Brooks, how important is it for the Lobos playing from the head in games like this? They've played from the head a few times where they let teams back in it. So while I want to say it's important, like I don't know that they've always played great with the lead against bad teams. The combination of like getting a big lead like you expect against a team you expect to beat seems to like lead to this Lobo team sort of like putting it into neutral. Good leads against really good teams, they seem to have fun and keep it going. Good leads against like bad teams, they seem to like all right, we got this wrapped up, and that bad team tends to get back. Oh no, Amy Bonner, Steve. No comment. I don't think she's had a bad Lobo game this season, so I'll reserve reaction to that for a little while. I don't know what the oh shit is about, but oh shit or oh poop, I suppose, would be the more appropriate. If I was on the radio, I'd be in trouble now. I am not. So there we go. Do we get to see the Twin Towers, Nelly and Atiki together? I don't think so. They tried that once in practice and it went awful, and there's no desire to play 2 5s at the same time. Patino has specifically told us that he just doesn't have any desire to do that because it's been really bad when they've tried it. Also, he's really been struggling, I would say, in the few minutes he's been getting. He's kind of been struggling lately. He needs to break out of that funk. AK is here. I will let him know you said hi. Well, it's Aaron Patino, for those that don't know. Patino needs to teach Atiki to quit jumping so early while defending. I will let him. I'll pass that on, John. I can tell you Atiki is a 5th-year college player and has been told that at every season he has played. And it is not like it is something they have stopped telling him. But, yes, I will pass on that Patino should teach him that. Looks like a good amount of UNM fans from what we can see. How about I do this? Since there's no Lobos on that half of the court, go to this side to show you that there are more Lobo fans over there. I'll also even do this zoom in a little bit. Maybe you guys can see some of those Lobo fans over there. Where can we watch the game? You can watch the game here at Clune Arena at the U.S. Air Force Academy. You can also watch it online at themw.com/watch. We'll, I think, bring up all the games they have on TV, but this one is one of the, I believe there's 2 games all year that have been streamed for Lobos in Mountain West play anyway, and this being one of them. Sorry, I have the stretching going on right in front of the camera, but there you go. Didn't warn anybody that this might be a not suitable for work kind of show, but there you have it. We got Andy O'Brien, referee Andy O'Brien, giving you guys a show there. Mountain West app, yes, the Mountain West app carries all the streamed games, and you can watch it there. Greg had already answered your question. I see that now. You know what? I will take the thanks, even though it wasn't me that answered your question. So there you go. We are 8:40 away from tip-off, according to the scoreboard in here. And what else we got here? Yeah, this was from earlier, and I didn't post it. Patino said in postgame, Jovan can see significant more minutes. I believe he will. He'll start. And no question. Just thank you. Appreciate everything you do, Jeff. I appreciate you saying that. That's fun, man. I am having fun doing this too, so. I appreciate those that follow along, and the numbers on, I'll tell you what, man, the numbers on X for these shows have been great. We've been over 1,000 on some of these pregame shows, another few hundred on YouTube. And so the numbers have been tremendous. And maybe I'll do them again next year now because of it, right? And actually have a little more coordination, a little more planning on this as opposed to just flipping on a switch and trying to talk with you guys. Although there's something to be said for that too. Just letting you guys kind of take over with the questions and comments kind of lends itself, I think, to a pretty good show. That's the one here. Tom Mosser, Geoff Grammer, and the Pit Press Pod guys walk into a bar. What happens next? I imagine some sort of podcast goes on. Or a lot of tweeting. I don't know. So appreciate you guys. All right, 15 minutes away. 7 minutes away. 11-1 Mountain West play. UNM Lobos favored by 15.5 at Air Force. 0-12 right now, Air Force. And history is not on UNM's side for having a comfortable game today. I won't say the history's not on their side for winning. They still have a winning record here over the past decade or so, but they've had some tough ones. And this one could be that as well. Remember, this is an Air Force team that took San Diego State to overtime in this game just a couple of weeks ago. And Air Force needed the buzzer beater. San Diego State needed the buzzer beater to beat them. So appreciate you guys. Follow my coverage on social media at Geoff Grammer on X, or you can get me on ABQJournal.com for all post-game story and coverage. Once again, thank you guys.